Chalo. Hello and a very warm welcome to this special. The test series is done and dusted between India and Australia, and now the focus shifts to the ODIs. The first of that ODI will be played on 17th of March at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. So a lot to look forward to, and why these three ODIs that India plays against Australia becomes very important is because in October we are going to be the hosts of the ODI World Cup. So everything from here on is a dress rehearsal for the Indian team. What is the roadmap ahead for this team? What are the challenges that this team may possibly face in the future? We're going to talk about that because every one-day international that the men in blue play from now on is very important. We look at how well the Indian team is prepared for the World Cup. We look back at the results over the last 6 months, and going into the future, what are the challenges? What is the possible team that India can play in the World Cup? How have the duo of Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid fared in terms of getting the big decisions right since taking over the team? Over the next 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to be discussing this with Jamie Alter. Sanjeev Mukherjee will also join us on the show, and they've agreed to be on the show with me again because it's about the sport they love, but also because where will they hide if they say no to me? So jokes aside, let me get straight into it. Gentlemen, 9 ODIs, Jamie, is what India plays, and then there is the Asia Cup before the World Cup. So one may say that, look, the World Cup is in October, there is some time to go, but 9 ODIs, and you've got to make your plans, you've got to find replacements, able replacements in case somebody gets injured. If India were to play the World Cup today, do they have a settled 11? Somewhat settled 11.
Good to be here. First of all, you started off the show by talking about India's openers. I was wondering whether we'll get our second opener here, but Sanjeev Mukherjee is here at the crease once again. Look, in a World Cup year, I would have to say India do not have a settled World Cup 11 if the tournament were to be starting, let's say Friday when the series is starting, because your number one fast bowler is not around. Your statistically your best one-day batsman from the previous year, he is injured. That is Shreyas Iyer. Yes, KL Rahul has a formidable record at number 5 in ODIs, albeit with a small sample size. But the man is going through his toughest phase as an international cricketer. Is he in the mind frame to walk in and do great things at number 5? I don't know. You have Surya Kumar Yadav, a name I'm sure Meha and Sanjeev we will talk about during this show. As fantastic as he's been in T20s, he's yet to crack the ODI game, and he's got a lot of chances. Sanjeev spoke about chances yesterday. How many more chances is Surya Kumar Yadav going to get in a one-day World Cup? So I don't think they're settled, but there's still time. Rishabh Pant, I mean, in a perfect world, Pant would be one of the first names down, even in your one-day squad. So India have a lot to wrestle with. And I just fear, Mehab, it's not the first time it's happened in the IPL. As much as success stories propel themselves into reckoning, a lot of players traditionally get injured during the IPL. In a World Cup year, it's very important that
Absolutely.
no more Rohit Sharma injuries, no more Umran Malik injuries, no more spinner injuries, because India cannot afford anyone getting injured in the next 7 months.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what happened before the last T20 World Cup as well, Sanjeev, where, right at the end, you saw fast bowlers were not available, and you're wondering who is going to be, leading that pack for India. And it was difficult for the team, and of course, everybody was talking about whether NCA is responsible for this. Why is it that all these players are okay, they are fit and fine come the IPL, but when something as important as the World Cup comes along, they are injured. That's another thing in a World Cup year teams will have to manage, is the injuries to their top players.
Of course, injury management has to be the key here, and that is something I believe we'll all agree on this one. That is something which we have not fared well at all. Be it the NCA, the support staff, or the lack of communication between the players and the NCA or the medical personnel. This is an issue which is coming back to bite India time and again. And more importantly, as you rightly said, before or rather ahead of crucial ICC tournaments. Now, if you look at the past 1 year or maybe past 14 to 16 months, India has tried around 54 to 56 different players across three formats. I mean, it might be, yes, we're talking about the ODI World Cup. 54 to 56 players across three formats, yet we do not have a settled team as far as any particular format is concerned. Barring a few exceptions, what is the look of a settled team? Do we know who's the second opener? As Jamie started off, we do not know. Number two, who's number three? What is the backup for Surya Kumar Yadav? For him, the sky is the limit virtually. But what if something, unfortunately, God forbid, runs out of form and picks up an injury during the IPL? Who's his backup? What's our backup for, if I might ask, Rishabh Pant? Because people have stopped talking about Rishabh Pant. He's injured, lying in a hospital, now recovering. What is the process about his recovery? What exactly is happening with him? One doesn't know. And then you look at the fast bowling department. Jasprit Bumrah, Meha, we do not know when Jasprit Bumrah is going to come back to the playing field and don a jersey for the national team. Forget about the Mumbai Indians, for the national team. Bhuvneshwar Kumar on a steady decline. So who are we left with? Mohammad Siraj? Yes. Umesh Yadav has got an injury. So are we going to go back to the tried and tested Shardul Thakur because it's a home World Cup in Indian conditions? Are we going to do that? Or are we going to go back to 2019? I want to pick both your as well as Jamie's brains. You're going to go back to 2019 and we do a 3D selection. We do a 3D hunt. You remember there was a very famous program on ESPN years earlier, Harsha Ki Khoj. I'm thinking of starting something called 3D Ki Khoj. Last time it was poor Vijay Shankar, whose entire national career was sacrificed just because of this 3D, and we didn't have the right selection. I hope we don't do something of that. So what's going to happen? I mean, I'm sorry, me and Jamie are panelists, but I don't think we'll be able to come up with many answers. Rather, hit you back with questions, Maya.
I do understand where you're coming from, because this is something I was going to raise as well in the show as to this 3D player 2019 World Cup. I hope we don't find ourselves in that situation, because right now as we speak, we don't have a number 4 in this side, you know, a sure shot number 4. So who is going to take that place? Because this is what happened in 2019 World Cup for all of you. Vijay Shankar was brought in at the last moment after Ambati Raidu was backed by the team management, and you know, the selector said he provides the 3D part to the game. He's a 3D player. That's why we've got him. Of course, you know, much to the criticism that we saw then later on from everyone. But now, last 6 months, what has India done in the ODIs? Let's look at that, India's results series-wise, and come back to both Jamie and Sanjeev on more of that. So 5 series that India have played. South Africa against South Africa, that's 1 series, and those numbers are going to come up on your screens. India won against South Africa 2-1 at home. You'll see that at home they've been the dominant best. They lost to New Zealand 1-0 in the away series, and then Bangladesh, this was such a big surprise, lost to Bangladesh 2-1 in away series. Then Sri Lanka came home. India won that comfortably, thrashed them 3-0 at home. And then it was New Zealand who were beaten by India. But there is one thing, at least in the last 2 series we saw, were the changes in the personnel, Jamie. With KL Rahul missing 1 series, Kishan was given opportunities, Surya Kumar Yadav missed 1 series, you know, so Shreyas Iyer was there. So there were changes there in that lineup. But what I'm asking you now is, this team has the best chance to win the World Cup this year because it's at home. And we've seen, despite changes, despite, you know, issues that we've talked about, it is at home. How much of that will play a part in the World Cup?
No, absolutely right. India has proven very, very tough to beat at home across formats. I mean, very few teams have come here and managed to win. Let's talk about white ball cricket, because the BGT is finished and it is a World Cup year. Teams have struggled to come here and beat this Indian side. And the core of this team pretty much remains the same. We hope Iyer is back. We hope Bumrah is back. There's no pun, but this team still has enough quality players. But just before we started, I just made up a hypothetical 11 of India's first World Cup match, and I want to get both of your ideas on this. This is something which is not entirely what my choice, it's also what I predict the team to be. 1 Rohit, 2 Gill, 3 Virat, 4 Shreyas, 5 Rahul, 6 Pandya, 7 Akshar, 8 Jadeja, 9 Bumrah slash Shami, and that's very crucial. If Bumrah is there, there's no Shami, but if there's no Bumrah, then I see Shami coming in. 10, it has to be Umran Malik, has to be there for his pace, and then like Sanjeev said, Mohammad Siraj. Now, in this discussion, if Sky is not even in your first 11 right now. And we've seen he's only played when players have been rested, right? So as much as the search for the next number 4 is on, I don't think any left field selection is going to come. The core players, when Suryakumar Yadav is struggling to get ODI's chances, I don't even see him starting in the World Cup, no matter what he does in the T20. This just says how dominant this Indian team will be, even without Jasprit Bumrah, because, like you said, it's at home. But that word "but" is used so often. If there's no Iyer will come back. Let's say he's not there, then the problems start, right? Then the Sky walk-in, like I said, as good as his T20 record is, he's got a very poor one-day average. 20 matches, his average has gone from 32 to 27. His first 6 matches had scores of 40 plus. Since then, he has 1 score of 30 plus. So clearly, he's struggling to figure out, Mehan Sanjeev, how do I play this 50-over game? Is he even worth the 50-over game? The answer is still not quite known, right? So if these puzzles start to be put in place, only then will we have a sense of how strong this team is.
And that's a curious case of Suryakumar Yadav. In fact, you've queued me up to this graphic that I was going to put up for you guys as well. You've said it rightly, Jamie, that, you know, he's been given opportunities, and I know why he's been given these opportunities, Sanjeev, because of how destructive he is in T20Is. And, you know, one thinks that he's going to be able to translate that success in ODIs as well, but has struggled. Career stats, the average, look at that, 28.86 in 20 matches, 433 runs, 250s in 18 innings. So he's been given opportunities. In 2022, 13 matches, average is 26, and this average gets worse in the last 4 matches in 2023. He's averaging 16. In last 7 matches, he's averaging 18. So here's a player, everybody knows what he can do. Everybody knows he can completely turn the game on its head. But in ODIs, he just somehow is not able to do it. Sanjeev, what could be the reason behind it? How do you see this for Suryakumar Yadav in ODIs?
Well, for starters, Mehan, Jamie, excellent point, excellent figures you put up on the screen. But for starters, I must admit that, number one, I'm not a professional cricketer, so anybody who's watching should not take it out on me for whatever I'm going to say. Number two, I've never coached Suryakumar Yadav. Thirdly, I've met him thrice, but from a distance. Now, having done with the caveats, you know, I find there's a similarity between boxing and cricket in these particular 2 formats. You might find it a little ludicrous, but hear me out. You see professional boxing, heavyweight boxing, 12 rounds of heavy-duty fighting, slugfest. That's what a one-day cricket is like. You know, 50 overs, you're doing the grind. It might not have the lucre of money as heavyweight boxing has for over 12 rounds, but you compare it to a 3 to 5 rounds of boxing at the amateur level, which is T20 cricket. However, T20 cricket has turned the tables. It's got more of the lucre, more of the money, more of the eyeballs, etc. What's happening is that in T20 cricket, with no disrespect meant, it doesn't really test the skill of a cricketer as much as one-day cricket does. Forget about test cricket. That's the ultimate test. I mean, one-day cricket, you're meant to be there for 50 overs. You're meant to be there to grind it out throughout for 50 overs and then show how good you are. I mean, no comparison. Suryakumar Yadav is a fabulous T20 cricketer, but I think he needs a little bit more of time. And there are lessons to be learned as to why, you know, possibly India doesn't have a good strategy or a different strategy for the different formats. Because I think India, what is happening in the last 18 to 24 months, and I'm sure you guys would want to think about it, I think we have the same idea as far as T20 cricket is concerned and one-day cricket is concerned. They are both white ball cricket, but they are very, very different.
Can I just jump in?
No,
I'm just adding on to this and then you can continue this. I'm just going to tell you this, that Rohit Sharma very specifically said that it's just an extension of T20 cricket and that's how we are going to play our ODI cricket as well. where we are going to be out and out aggressive. It's something that the captain and the coach have decided as well, Sanjeev. So just carry on. I'm just adding that as information that here is a team that genuinely believes that that's the way to survive in 50 overs as well. It's really not about pacing your innings or grinding it out for 50 overs, but it seems like more and more teams today are seeing 50 overs cricket as just an extension of 20 overs where you've got to go slam bang for 50 overs, which of course is not possible. And a lot of teams have learnt it the hard way.
I mean, yeah, it's as simple as asking a simple question, Neha and Jamie. Why does Superman fly? Why does Superman fly? Because he's Superman. There's no explanation, no logic. But the moment Rohit Sharma says, and I would respectfully disagree with the Indian captain when he says that T20 cricket, one-day cricket is an extension of T20 cricket. I know people who've gone to management classes, they learn about the inverted pyramid. But in actuality, in reality, a pyramid is never inverted, right? So if he says that one-day cricket is an extension of T20 cricket, one-day cricket came into being in the early 60s, 1965, 66, the first time Gillette Cup was played. And T20 cricket was a brainchild of Lalit Modi and Stuart Robinson, which came into focus in 2003, 2004. I'm sorry, he's got his mathematics completely all over the place. What I meant to say is, he might think what he wants to, and he obviously has a right to do so. The fact is that we need to have very separate strategies as far as both these forms are concerned. We are mixing it up. You see, the number of ODIs we played before last year's T20 World Cup vastly outnumbered the number of T20s we played before the T20 World Cup.
Yes.
So are we getting our priorities right? Are we getting a scheduling right? Number two, couple of very, very simple things. T20 people think it's a slam bang cricket. Yes, it is. But obviously, there are things you need to do in a specialized way. First 6 overs, make sure you do not concede as many dot balls. You go after the bowling, all hell for leather, fine. But 7 to 14 or 15, the middle overs, you go after the spinners. You make sure that you get as many runs on the board to set up the pedestal for the final death where the people go in with the calculated assault, like a Karen Pollard, Hardik Pandya, Dinesh Karthik, etc. But 50 overs does not give you, it doesn't allow you, because what happens? 1 down, 3 for 1, 1 down for 3 in the first over, second over. Surya Kumar Yadav comes to bat. And he knows from the second over, from the 10th ball of the innings, he has to be there till the 40th over or possibly the 45th over. Does he have it in himself to stay till that point of time? Sure, he does.
Yeah.
But he has to build it. He has to wear down the grind. Not for nothing. Not for nothing. And I'm, again, not comparing. Not for nothing. And the greats of the yesteryears spoken about with so much awe and reverence. Vivian Richards batted through nearly 50 overs for 189. These guys, they will make 189 in 20 overs.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're better than Viv Richards. Oh, come on. I'll repeat John McEnroe's word. You must be joking.
But now you have someone like Ravi Shastri saying that maybe the only way ODI cricket can survive is just cut down the overs from 50 overs to 40 overs in innings.
So
maybe that is... That's true. So maybe that is the way forward really for ODI cricket. But just coming back to now, what we can expect. We were looking at India's results in the last 6 months. Let's also take a look at India's top scorers this year. See who's in form, who's been scoring the runs, who's making the difference, who needs to be consistent going into the World Cup. And look at that. Shubman Gill, gentlemen, we discussed him yesterday as well. He's leading the charts, 6 matches, 567 runs, averaging 113.4. His highest score, 208, and of course, a brilliant double 100. Then there's Virat Kohli, 6 matches, 338 runs. Average 67.6, highest score 166. Rohit Sharma comes in at number 3, just 10 runs behind Virat Kohli, which also goes on to show that actually it's nice to see the top 3 scoring runs. And if India needs to do well in the World Cup, then these guys have to be consistent. Average 54.6 highest score 101. Then there is Hardik Pandya, 5 matches, 132 runs. Huge difference there, but we know what Hardik Pandya can do. His all-round effort, we've seen the difference that makes. And then there is KL Rahul, who's played just 3 matches this year, 110 runs, averaging 55, highest score 64. And I have a feeling that KL Rahul will somehow find a place in that team. I know that Jamie may not be too happy with that, but having said that,
No.
Yes, go ahead.
If there's one format KL Rahul deserves to play in my Makonu, it is the one day game because like we talked about yesterday, there are certain players are not right now capable of playing across three formats. KL Rahul has a very good record, but also it's 2003 all over again. Sanjeev, you'll understand this. Maya, you'll get this. 2003, Rahul Dravid was given that makeshift role. Now he's the coach. It's not without coincidence that one Rahul is making the other Rahul do the same thing, right? And in the end, Rahul Dravid did a very good job in that role. My only concern is when talk about KL Rahul, when he does play in this team, I'm okay with him playing as a batsman because before Suryakumar Yadav came along, KL Rahul was doing Suryakumar Yadav like things batting at number 5. But when you burden a person who's not a professional keeper by trade, he'll do the makeshift job. You're putting too much onus or too much pressure on a guy already struggling with his form and temperament in a World Cup year. Can you imagine KL Rahul, who everyone seems to have a problem with, if he misses a stumping or a catch as India's keeper in a World Cup match? All hell is going to break loose. So I'm okay with him playing as a batsman. I just don't think he should be saddled with the burden of being India's keeper in a World Cup tournament.
Okay. Who will replace Shreyas Iyer in the squad in this series for now? First of all, again, Shreyas Iyer gets injured, comes in. One question that one needs to ask is, was he rushed back in? Was it not, did they not look at how serious the injury was and whether it could come back? Because that's exactly what happened with Shreyas Iyer. He couldn't finish the series, could not play the last game, and then had to go back, for recovery. So that's another question. They need to be so much more careful, Sanjeev, when it comes to these players. Shreyas Iyer is an important part of this ODI setup. Of course, everybody thinks right now, with the way he's played in this format, that he is that number 4, but now injured before an all-important series against Australia. But who will replace him in the squad is another big question, because we are talking about number 4. We already spoke about Vijay Shankar and Ambati Raidu. Number 4 position, we know how important that is. Somehow, Sanju Samson, who's done well, and I know that Shashi Tharoor tweets about it. Why is it that Sanju Samson is not finding a place in this squad? There is, there is something there. I was looking at his numbers. They're phenomenal numbers. Last year, 10 matches, scored 284 runs, average of 71. Whenever he's been given an opportunity, he's actually scored runs. Why is it that he's not finding a place in this squad?
Yeah, if I could answer your question with a question to Dr. Shashi Tharoor, respectfully, before I answer your question. My question is, fair enough, Shashi Tharoor tweets about Sanju Samson every time Indian team is selected and there is no Sanju Samson. But my question to Dr. Tharoor is that why does he not tweet about Jalat Saxena, who's been one of the most best performers as far as spin bowlers are concerned in the Indian domestic circuit? Why does he never tweet about any of the high-scoring run getters or the good wicket takers in the Indian domestic circuit? Because the last 5 years, you've had 3 or 4 different teams winning the Ranji Trophy. He never talks about anybody from Madhya Pradesh. He never talks about the Abhimanyu Iswaran, poor guy in Bengal might be thinking that, what did I do wrong? Shashi Tharoor, I never catch his eye. So the reason I'm saying is because most of these things happen on social media. Tharoor tweets about Sanju Samson, it becomes a headline. Unfortunately, Jalat Saxena never gets a look in. So, that's what I think of Shashi Tharoor and his tweets. But yeah, I don't see Sanju Samson making the cut. They might. But why I think it will go against him is because it's got nothing to do with his talent or potential. We can't call him a talented player because he's been around for a really long time now. Unfortunately, he's never really got a long rope compared to somebody like, who we are talking about. I just mentioned it last evening. My question here is that you look at the top. For the last 18 months, again, and I will want to draw your attention, both of your attention to this particular gentleman, Shikhar Dhawan. Big players arrested. Openers are rested. The captain is not going. Vice captain doesn't want to talk. Who's made in charge of the Indian cricket team? Shikhar Dhawan.
Shikhar Dhawan, absolutely.
What is his performance like? Very, very good. He performed well as a captain. He performed well in player to series wins. And he performs with the bat. He's no mug with the bat. We're talking about the Gabbar, Shikhar Dhawan. What does Rahul Dravid and company do? Here's my question. Shikhar Dhawan is gone. He's gone. He's nowhere. He's nowhere. Nobody is talking about him. Why not? You have a World Cup in India. You need somebody to play a sheet anchor role. You cannot, but I'll challenge Rahul Dravid. Even he cannot get anybody to replicate the so-called baseball theory in one-day cricket. And for the record, Mr. Dravid should know, baseball is used by England in Test cricket. And the way they have assaulted bowlers or bowling attacks to make 390, 400 plus in ODIs is not a new phenomenon. They've been doing it since 2015. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Jamie. So the fact is that when you don't look at players like this, you just chuck them out when you're not needed. When you want them to step in because a Rohit or a Virat is not touring, you bring them into the team, make them the captain, then they're gone and nobody's talking about them. So I really don't think on the same note, Sanju Samson will make the cut. Maybe somebody like a Rajat Patidar, because he's been performing well. He's very, very talented. And possibly you should give a look to him. And on that line, I would also say that, because we started talking about backups, do we really have the backups? Yeah. What is the backup for Shubman Gill? Number one, zero. What is the backup for Rohit Sharma? Zero. What is the backup for Surya Kumar Yadav? Zero. What is the backup for somebody else? Virat Kohli. Oh, we can't talk about backups for Virat Kohli. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I led you on to this, but we can't talk about certain backups. So, in a sense, that's what the problem is. We're talking about World Cup in a home territory. We're talking about World Cup on a home territory. Who are we going to win it with? How are we going to win it with? And if anybody says that while people criticize, it's not about criticism. It's a national pastime. Cricket is the national pastime. It's a sport.
No, but a lot of times, I've also seen this with Rohit Sharma, especially before the T20 World Cup, they kept saying that we sort of keep ourselves away from the outside noise. अपने अंदर क्या खिचड़ी पक रही है बस हम ही जानते हैं हम आप लोगों को नहीं बताना चाहते वो क्या खिचड़ी पक रही है but there were so many contentious decisions even during the T20 World Cup, Jamie, even before that in the selection, Dinesh Karthik's selection, where would you play Rishabh Pant? Should he open? Should he come down the order? There were so many things. We discussed this in all our shows. So when you look at the combination of Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid, obviously this has not been a very successful period for them since taking over this team.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We have discussed this on various shows. Somehow this combo, the stats will say one thing, but stats don't always tell the true story, right?
Yeah.
Why has this team, why did this team go to Bangladesh and lose? Why did this team not win the Asia Cup? You ended up being third best in Asia. Yeah. And then, you scraped into the semifinals of the T20 World Cup, right? And there you were absolutely blown away by the team, which we just spoken about, which has changed the white ball game. It took England to have Eoin Morgan as captain go to the 2015 World Cup, where I was there, and I covered about 50% of England's matches. You saw that this was a unit creaking with old-timers. There was Anderson, there was Broad, there was Bell, there was Cook. The realization that the ECB or the English cricket setup had in 2015, we need to change our system. Let's hope that doesn't happen to the Indian team. We've spoken on this show about the depth and the chance they have, but there are questions that need to be answered, right? So when you look at Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid, I think half the time Dravid's probably been hampered that Rohit's not even been around. Either he's rested or he's injured. I think that has not helped him gel with Rohit Sharma. And I said at the start of the show, let's hope that Rohit Sharma does not pull one of those injuries and miss, some part of the next few months. But there's been enough to suggest that perhaps they're not on the same page, be it talk about pitches. Before the BGT, within 48 hours, different comments came out from the coach and the captain. We saw this during the start of the World Cup as well. Perhaps Dravid's just not at ease with her. I don't know. Again, I have no inside dope. Maybe Sanjeev does. But something about their combination just does not sit as well as the previous regime of Shastri and Kohli did, to my limited view.
Yeah, absolutely right. We've had these conversations, over this period of time since they took over, that what seems to be happening, who's the one who's really taking these decisions? Is this completely the captain's call? Because at least with Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri, you were clear. Ravi Shastri made it clear that, look, I give him my point of view, but the final decision is with Virat Kohli. So you knew who was taking these decisions. But in this case, nobody really knows. And of course, they don't come out and talk about it in the open as well. Okay, so we've talked a lot about India's batting. What about India's bowling? Let's put those numbers up. India's top wicket takers, before I get Sanjeev back on this chat as well. Top wicket takers this year, and undoubtedly Mohammad Siraj. And this is good news really, Jamie, for India, given that Jasprit Bumrah is injured. We don't know when he's going to when he's going to come back. So Mohammad Siraj, #1 ODI bowler. This augurs well for India in a World Cup here. 5 matches, 14 wickets. Kuldeep Yadav, 5 matches, 11 wickets, which also then, we'll talk about this as well. The problem of plenty when it comes to spinners here. What will India look to do? Mohammad Shami, 5 matches, 7 wickets. Then there is Shardul Thakur, 3 matches, 6 wickets, and there is Umran Malik. But you look at this bowling as well. If Sanjeev is back and I could go to him. Sanjeev, you look at the bowling as well in the absence of Jasprit Bumrah, and you said this at the beginning of the show. Pace attack just does not look as lethal as it was with Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, Umesh, we said old. Mohammad Shami as well. Age is a factor there. Umran Malik, not so consistent. Shardul Thakur, hit and miss. Don't know what to expect from him. Mohammad Siraj, of course, will lead this attack really. So, that is another thing. First of all, we don't know whether Bumrah is going to be available for the World Cup. If he is, how fit will he be? He would have just come back after rehab, surgery, whatever else. Has he got enough match time? All of those questions. That will also be a challenge for India when it comes to their pace attack.
Right away, of course. And the simplest picks to that would be playing all 3 spinners together, 7, 8, 9. That's Akshar, Jadeja, and Ravichandran Ashwin, along with maybe a Kuldeep Yadav. So you just have one pacer, because I won't be surprised if India actually does it. But rightly raised concerns, because other than Mohammad Siraj, nobody seems to be peaking or maybe at his prime. Bhuvneshwar Kumar has been in decline, and I would say in terminal decline for a while. Bumrah, there is a huge cloud of uncertainty about Bumrah. What happens then? If Bumrah doesn't make it back to the World Cup squad, India will be dealt a very, very big blow. There's no doubt, no two doubts about it. The fact is that Mohammad Siraj, what makes him so special at this point of time is he's very good in the power plays. Opening overs, his opening spells are very, very good. He swings it both ways. He can take pace off. He has a vicious cutter, a very good bouncer. In the middle overs, how he's developed his art as a good bowler, that's what Siraj is. In the middle overs, he can be brought in to break a partnership and possibly choke the flow of runs. And in the end, he's also improved his net bowling. But do you want to say that with one quality fast bowler, who right now is incidentally the #1 ODI bowler, according to the ICC rankings, do you think is that enough? When you ask, no, I don't think so. There are problem points. Maybe, I would say maybe India might revert to a spin-heavy attack and maybe go less with pace. Maybe, of course, have one of Siraj.
Sure.
For certain, if Shami, but Shami is also 32, and the amount of workload Shami takes in the recent years, that is certainly going to take its toll on Shami someday or the other. And I hope it's not during the World Cup.
Yeah, okay.
Just to bring...
Yes, go ahead. No, I'm just running out of time, guys. All of this, though, I want quick replies from you. Valid points made there, but all of this could change, when IPL comes, because the cricketing world gets affected in such a huge way with those performances. Isn't that so, Jamie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I said it at the start, and I think I brought it up again. And while you were listening to both of you, the thought is there one IPL, like the same Ambati Raidu, who the coach, the vice captain, and the captain backed as #4, in the middle of an IPL, he's just discarded. So anything can happen. But like I said at the start, more than someone scoring 600 runs or taking 25 wickets is someone actually getting injured during the IPL. Anything can happen. We know the players do put a premium on staying fit for those 2 months. I believe Sanjeev, we're looking at the longest IPL ever this time around. So I just hope that the top 20 players, the probable of 20, not beyond that, but the probable 20, whoever they may be, I think there's 14 cleared, probably 6 fringe players. I just hope they play. Otherwise, all these talks we're having could be entirely different come June.
Yeah, that's right. But it's interesting how things change in Indian cricket and how quickly, a player is just picked up and, put right at the top, or a player is dropped. Sanjeev mentioned Shikhar Dhawan as well, but this has been such a fascinating conversation. Of course, we will be previewing the India-Australia ODI series as well. That starts on Friday at the Wankhede Stadium. But Sanjeev Mukherjee has taken the time out to be here with us. So thank you so much, Sanjeev. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Quickly, yes?
I just want to end by saying one thing, that no comparing sport, but look at Argentina, look at France and their players. They play so many number of matches in the Argentine leagues, in Europe stock leagues, in the Premier
Yes.
League. They play the Champions League. They still have enough gas in the tank to go there, perform so well in a World Cup. So I think when it comes to cricket, I think sometimes players do complain a bit too much. They should take better care of themselves. And
Okay.
again, Chetan Sharma comes to mind. Will somebody ask him what he exactly meant when he said that some players are faking injuries? I'll may I rest my
Okay.
case here.
Okay, completely out of time. The Zoom link is going to go. So, Sanjay Mukherjee, Jamie Alter, thank you so much for taking the time out. As always, a fascinating conversation here. We talked about the roadmap to the World Cup for the Indian team. Some very valid points there from both these guys. Okay, now before we wrap this up, India are all set to host the Women's World Boxing Championship. This is for the third time that India are hosting the World Boxing Championship. This starts in New Delhi from tomorrow. So a lot to look forward to. It's an exciting event that's coming up. It starts from the 15th of March to 26th of March. Boxing fans have eagerly waited for this championship, and more than 300 athletes from 65 countries, they will be competing here at the KD Jadhav Indoor Hall. Now, India's flyweight world champion Nikhat Zareen, along with Tokyo Olympics bronze medalist Lavlina Borgohain, will be at the forefront spearheading the 12-member Indian team. Both the boxers are looking to find their footing in new weight categories. Nikhat cut down her weight from 52 to 50 kgs, while Lavlina bulked up from a 69 kg welterweight class to the 75 kg middleweight division. Nikhat Zareen has been in electric form. She's won medals at the World Championship, Commonwealth Games last year, undoubtedly India's firm medal favorite this time. This is the third time, like I said, India is hosting this championship, but this time it's the build-up which was marred by controversy. Several countries like Ukraine, UK, United States and Canada, they've decided to boycott the upcoming world event after the International Boxing Association allowed Russian and Belarusian boxers to compete under their national flags. The ongoing tussle between the two bodies, it's created a lot of confusion about qualification for the upcoming Olympics in Paris as well. The IBA has announced that the men's and women's worlds will be the main qualification events for the upcoming 2024 Paris Olympics. But the IOC said it would be in charge of the 2024 Paris Olympics and not the IBA. Although the IBA softened its stand and clarified that the IOC will remain in charge of the qualifying events, adding that the two bodies need to cooperate. But apart from all the controversies around the championship, the event is going to be a thrilling one to watch. The winner in each of the 12 weight categories will walk away with a big prize money of $100,000. The Indian team will hope to match its 2006 performance at home when Indian boxers won 8 medals, including 4 gold. So we wish all the Indian boxers very best for the upcoming World Boxing Championship. If you are anywhere in Delhi or Delhi NCR, do go and buy the tickets and go watch our girls in action. That's it from us. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.